Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Be sure to tuck your wife in and take off your pants because it's time for another episode of the Fat Minute. I am your host, Don John, and joined by my wonderful co-host, BVJ.
Yeah, hi.
Well, you didn't like that intro?
It was okay.
I'm sorry. I'm a little out of practice. But we're getting close to the end of our retrospective of the 2010s because tonight we are on year 2017, Trump year one. If 2016 was a big oof, this was a big yikes. Um,
Just in case, the weather isn't too bad for Thursday, Donnie, don't you have a little announcement you want to start out with?
yes, Thursday in Timonium, Maryland, near downtown Baltimore. I will be performing at the open mic at Magooby's Joke House Theater. Show starts at 7:30. Doors open at 7. $10 for tickets and a two-item minimum, so expect to spend about $30. If you show up, make sure you tell the front desk that you're there to see Don John. Very important. Um, and hope you all can make it. Hopefully the weather isn't too bad. As of right now, it looks like the weather on Thursday is not supposed to be a problem. So fingers crossed. First time on stage for in a few months, so I'm looking forward to getting back into that groove again. And hopefully I don't get banned from this place like I did in Kaiser.
Um, you know what? I'm not even going to force a joke there. It speaks for itself.
I mean, hey, you haven't even heard my set that I'm gonna do on Thursday yet, so
Am I in it?
no.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to be?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't want to be shoehorned in. I don't want to have to request. You should have put me in naturally, organically. So I'm glad I work anyway.
Oh, wow.
I don't mean that. You know I don't mean that. Anyway, everybody listening, if you need the details that Donnie just said, like written out in print, I posted it on Puka Saucy. And for any further updates on weather and whatnot, follow at Don John Laughs.
Hell yeah. So now we got that out of the way, let's dive into 2017. We'll start off with the headlines of that year. Just a few major events that happened. The first one being the 2017 Women's March. It started off as like just a proposed gathering in D.C. and like the whole thing was basically a response to just Donald Trump's entire election to the presidency, just because of his comments and stuff like that about and towards women and his just entire history of interactions with and towards women and just the kind of administration that was getting ready to come into the White House. And this march was, I just love how they scheduled it for the day after Inauguration Day, which was awesome. Um, and it started off as just like a gathering in D.C. and it expanded to a worldwide protest. Like there were protests all over the place. There were, let's see here, 673 marches took place worldwide on all 7 continents. There were 29 in Canada, 20 in Mexico, and 1 in Antarctica, which I mean, I guess they put a few of those hats on the Penguins there, I guess. And of course, you had some in D.C., Chicago, L.A., New York City, Seattle. I believe there was one in London as well. Literally all over the place. And I mean, it really just highlighted one, the fact that there obviously were more people that did not want Donald Trump in office than there were people who did. Um, I would say almost 3 million more. And for me personally, the thing this really opened my eyes to was because I've never been blind to the fact that misogyny is very much a thing even in this country. But what this opened my eyes to was this mentality amongst far too many people in this country. This mentality of if a problem that exists in this country isn't as bad as it is in another country, then the problem does not exist at all in this country. Because I saw so many people online saying stuff about this march, like, well, what are they marching about? Well, they're marching about women's rights. Well, what rights don't they have? It's like, how much time you got, buddy? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things that you can't do or are like persuaded from doing if you are a woman and not just in this country but in this world. And I mean, I remember seeing people saying stuff like, because another thing, this is also a thing. This march also revealed that JonTron, that YouTuber JonTron, is an asshole. Just a lot of the
Yep.
comments he made about this march, and he made a comment about how, quote, if you can drive to a McDonald's drive-through and order a Big Mac without having to wear a burqa or being, having a gun pointed at you by your husband, you are not oppressed. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you saying, dude? Like,
I loved your one counterpoint to one of his other points was like, um, if our founding fathers, were able to prophetically look ahead to gaze into the future and see, their descendants wearing pussy hats and as he puts it, these aren't my words, but like his attitude put it, like wearing
mhm,
pussy hats and throwing a fit and whatnot, they would be disgusted. And your counterpoint was, I think the founding fathers would be a little more put off by the fact that a guy who makes a living wage screaming nonsense at a fake bird, um, you know, a guy who screams nonsense at a fake bird making a living wage would be a little more jarring, I
not
guess.
just a not just a living wage, but more money than the average worker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was how you were. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to flub that, but yeah, like if I think the founding fathers would be a little more weirded out by looking into the entire concept of the YouTuber JonTron and
Yeah.
like being able to own a house and live comfortably. Like, what are you?
Not to mention about half of them would have a heart attack over the idea of a black president. So I don't think I'm gonna worry too much about what they think.
Well,
Um,
that's.
they're
I
they're
mean,
they're dead for a reason. Their time has passed. We,
yeah.
we we need to stop thinking what would they do. They've been dead for almost 300 years. Like,
Very very much a waste of a waste of an argument, a waste of breath.
yeah,
Yeah, just, well, I mean, and also like the argument could be made that they would be very much against it also, like their attitude, some of their attitudes would be, why are you still listening to a bunch of dead guys from
yeah,
200 plus years ago? Like, it's time to make your own way now.
yeah.
um
That was like the whole point of them structuring the original Constitution and government the way they did, was they wanted it to be able to evolve with the times.
Well, that was like the one Joe Rogan joke, and I hate myself for saying this. That was like the one Joe Rogan joke that was actually semi insightful. Was like, from their point of view, being like, "Wait, you didn't write any new shit? Like, come on, man! Like, I wrote that with a feather."
Yeah, what started as a protest for women's rights just expanded into, reproductive rights, disability justice, LGBTQ rights, racial equality, like just a whole bunch of different things that were very much concerns with this, regarding what this new administration was going to do. Because I mean, you not only had Donald Trump, who was just an absolute garbage human being, you also had Mike Pence, who was an absolutely evil human being, just going into the White House, and a lot of people were scared, and a lot of people were scared about what were going to happen to people who weren't straight white men, and it was I guess a moment of hope, knowing like what we were about to get into. Because I mean, even before he got elected, people like us were like, it's gonna be a bad time if he gets elected, and then he got elected, and we were like, it's definitely gonna be a bad time, and nobody believed us. Nobody thought it was gonna be, as bad as what we thought it would be. I mean, I remember Ben Carson saying, guys, even if he does suck, it's only gonna be 4 years. Like, thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
And and then a lot of the people who, the few people who did vote for him and have buyer's remorse, like, how could we know it was going to be this bad? Well, we fucking told you it was going to be this bad. I mean, and but I guess it was a moment of hope to see this and just see like there were more people against him than there were with him. But yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, just, I mean, just, I don't want, just a few points. Yeah, I remember, like, the whole, well, not just the whole, uh, well, how do we know it was going to be this bad? You also had those people who very famously, like in the time between, the day after the election, well, the day after the election, and this day, this March, this event, you had those people that kept saying, well, just give him a chance. And it's like, you never know, like just give him a chance. And then
Did you did you give
and then
Barack Obama a chance?
no, they didn't. And then guess what? 4 years later, summer 2020, we were able to be like, all right, we gave him a chance. Like,
Yeah,
is that good enough for you? And then those people still didn't shut up, and it still wasn't good enough for them.
yeah.
And then, back to your point where it's like, well, what rights in America, don't women have and stuff? I kept hearing the whole like, I guess like one of their, pardon the pun, trump cards is, well, yeah, I guess like with JonTron with the burqa or whatever, like, well, yeah, well, at least it's not as bad as it is and then they just pull out some random ass area from the Middle East, and it's
Yeah.
like if your entire standard for comfort and satisfaction with America
Is
is
the
that,
country in the desert that doesn't have air conditioning?
yeah, then you're kind of missing out on the point of America.
That's
Like,
that's that's like anti-vaxxers trying to prop the Amish up as the picture of health.
yeah, yeah. Like if that's where your standard of satisfaction and comfort and content is just a random province from the Middle East, like then you've just kind of contradicted every single time you've complained about the Middle East.
Also, fun
Um,
fact: Saudi Arabia actually has paid maternity leave, and we don't. So do what you will with that fun fact.
Another gripe that I remember is people being like, oh wow, look at all those people that had all this free time to go march and complain and and protest. Like no one had to work that day, no one had to go to their job or whatever, and
It's
it's
like,
like,
have you guys ever heard of PTO? I mean,
well, then also like I love how that thought never crossed their own minds when they would be like, wow, look how busy all these Trump rallies were. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, well, why weren't any of those people at work? Like,
right.
and then as Marissa had to point out, the Women's March was on a Saturday. A lot of people in America still have the classic weekend off. Like, what
Yeah,
point are you trying to make here? Um, and then I will say though, and I'm sorry this is tone deaf, and I really wish they didn't do the whole pussy hat thing because it just opened up like them trying to meme us or whatever. Like
hmm,
I get it. I get it, and like I'm not trying to give in or like dwell on it, but it's like, yeah, I maybe wouldn't have suggested they do that because I think it just backfired with too many people with
hmm.
them being able to mock that, but it is what it is now. But yeah, I mean, it was, in a sense, it was uplifting to see, like, oh wow, you know what? Like, most people really do hate this motherfucker.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like to echo Dave Chappelle, it's like I never felt like a more proud American when we were all able to go online and just roast the shit out of this guy.
yeah.
Like we still, at least we still had that. Like at least we were all still able to go on Facebook, go on Twitter, and just talk about how big of clowns these people were.
It
Um,
makes me think of this past election when, you got the people who were saying that Biden won it fraudulently, and that whole conspiracy. And I'm just like, okay, like they think literally everybody's in on the conspiracy, like literally everybody. And even though like I'm like, there was like a group that Trump hired himself to prove that there was election fraud, and they proved that there wasn't any. Um,
yeah.
but you tell people that, and they're like, oh, they're in on the conspiracy too. And it's just like, okay, at that point, if literally everybody's in on the conspiracy, that still tells me that more people want him out than people who want him in. So ultimately, what does it matter? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, they're kind of indirectly admitting that most of the world hates him.
yeah, yeah,
Like they're all of their arguments collapse on themselves sooner or later.
yeah.
It's actually amazing. But
And that's one word
but,
to use for it.
but yeah, it's like well, which one is it? Like is he actually popular and beloved, or it's like no man, like he's the outsider. The whole world's against him. But then you weren't willing to believe that a man who the whole world was against didn't get enough votes. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Moving on though, those are my thoughts on it.
All right. Well, then we will move on to something that happened almost at the same time. Brexit, which was the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union, which took effect partially on January 2020. There's some of it was put on hold because of the pandemic. So we're not quite seeing the full effects of that yet. But yeah, basically the UK, they had a vote on whether or not to remove themselves from the European Union, and they voted in favor of withdrawal, and they are the first and so far only country to have left the European Union. And it was such a weird thing to me. Like at the time I tried not to comment on it just because I'm like I don't live in the UK, I don't live in Europe, so like I felt like I didn't really have much of a place to like much of a leg to stand on when it came to commenting on their like affairs over there. But then I'm also like, well, there's a lot of people who live in America who don't know what the fuck's going on and they still talk about it, so fuck it. Um, and just looking at this, it just made no sense to me. Um, and there was never really any argument as to why they were removing themselves from the European Union. It just really boiled down to a lot of people just a lot of people just didn't want to be a part of Europe anymore. It I mean it was most of the votes in favor of withdrawal were from the older people, and I mean I don't know if you're aware of this, but the UK has a very like racist community, like almost more so than the U.S. Amongst the elderly. Um, which I mean,
That's kind of obvious.
yeah, I was about to say if you if you listen to Meghan Markle, she did this interview, and yeah, um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No, man,
it's
it doesn't matter because her kid is only 12% or whatever Candace Owens said.
yeah. Well, Candace Owens is 100% retarded, so there we go. Um, but yeah, the withdrawal from the European Union, because I'm just like there was, like I said, there was never any like coherent argument as to why they wanted to remove themselves from it. And my basically my whole line of logic was, how is being a part of the EU hurting you? Like, how does it actually hurt you? And I mean, even though it hasn't gone into full effect yet, we've already seen some economic effects for London for, in regards to removing withdrawal from the European Union. Like they've lost a good bit of investment, and their GDP has definitely taken a hit, and it's projected to take a bit of a hit for the next few years. Um, and they're not really seen as the gateway to Europe anymore. And it almost caused a split within the UK because Scotland voted to stay with the European Union while England and Wales voted to leave, and it almost caused there was talk of Scotland just splitting from the UK entirely so they could stay in the EU. Um, and I don't know, it was just one of those things where I was just like, why would you do that? Like it doesn't hurt you at all to stay, so why are you leaving? And I don't know, it's just I've always looked at the European Union as like something we should try to do with Canada and Mexico, just pull our resources and our workers together. And I mean, the European Union has just benefited greatly from existing. I mean, I think the fact that they've managed to become a global economy that with a currency that has on more than one occasion been more valuable than the U.S. dollar. I think that says a lot. It was just one of those. It was just another one of those moments that was of stupidity on top of another moment of stupidity in a really stupid couple of years.
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
Well, I mean, I can't have too much to say about it because I mean, my main impressions of the whole Brexit thing was just the announcement of it, and I guess it was 2016 was when the vote happened, and almost immediately people kept asking, so is there any way to, maybe reverse this, or is there going to be a follow-up to this vote? And it's like they voted. I mean, it's
Yeah,
done. Like they
yeah,
did it. Um, but I mean, I knew it had to be a bad idea when comic book writer Mark Millar was in support of it,
mm,
and he changed his Twitter profile picture to a stick figure throwing the EU in the trash. Just very juvenile, and I'm like, dude, like you're just a moron, like you're an asshole.
yeah,
Um, but and even like people had to be like, dude, like the value of your dollar is going to be wrecked, dipshit. Like,
Yeah.
um, but
Well,
other
shit,
than that,
they're fucking the value of the British pound fucking plummeted the day after the
yeah.
announcement.
But as far as any further thoughts, I haven't really followed up on it since. Well, like you said, it didn't even go into actual effect until what, last year.
Hmm.
And I just, yeah, no, not no other further investigation on my part, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, then we will move on to something that hits a little closer to home. The dismissal of FBI Director James Comey happened in 2017. He was fired by Donald Trump. It was one of Trump's first big things he did when he got into office. And just from the get-go, this whole thing fucking stunk. It just reeked of just sketchiness. Um, and I mean, I always liked what Trevor Noah said about this with James Comey. He's like, whether you agreed or disagreed with James Comey and how he handled things, one thing you could always agree on was that you never felt like he was on anybody's side. And it was very obvious that that was why Trump fired him. I mean, and it pretty much happened right after he had a meeting with him asking him to let go of a lot of potential charges against National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who Trump had fired the day before. And then, I mean, after the dismissal, a bunch of memos and stuff got leaked out that really like showed that Trump was. It made it pretty obvious that he and his administration were doing what they could to obstruct justice, especially in regards to the investigation into how Russia meddled with the 2016 election. Um, and it just, again, it just fucking reeked from the get-go. And I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about it other than that.
Well, I just didn't know you were allowed to fire the guy who was investigating you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just very
yeah.
convenient. I'll
That
keep
that
that.
that whole investigation really just showed how flawed a lot of our processes are.
I mean, like, can you imagine on on Earth HRC if in that timeline if Hillary Clinton had fired him a couple months after becoming president?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, as far as James Comey personally, I mean, part of 2016, his 2016 was a giant fumble, and his hand was one of the hands on the ball when it fumbled. So, I
hmm,
mean, I can only give him so much personal sympathy, being like, "Yo, man, like you kind of fucked up yourself." Um, but yeah, just a huge red flag to fire someone who was investigating, kind of your area, your circle.
yeah,
Um, and just it's kind of like a shoplifter, getting a say in all the security cameras being taken down in the 7-Eleven. Like, oh, I kind of just want them away. Is that all right? But
yeah.
oh man, I don't know. It's kind of weird now. Now this time period is nostalgic to us, not in a good way, but still, like it's just it kind of has a retro feel to it now. But that's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to the next dumpster fire of 2017, the Unite the Right rally.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This was a real low point for this country, wasn't it? I mean,
I mean, this. I mean, is
literal Nazis marching the streets.
back to the women's march and being like, what's so bad right now? What's so wrong right now? One of the first things they tried to do, I mean, they didn't really waste much time trying to strip away the Affordable Care Act. And one of the things they wanted to do was they wanted to make rape a pre-existing condition.
Yep.
Like, just let that sink in.
Yep.
Like like charge someone extra in insurance if they were the victim of rape. Like, how do you even begin to perform the mental gymnastic of defending that? Um, so I would say that was one of the first true fuck ups, but I think this was when he really got to show, oh wow, like we were right.
Yeah.
There was no chance he deserved. He is going to be just a colossal fuck up.
Yeah.
But go ahead, back to you.
Yeah, the Unite the Right rally was a rally, white supremacist rally that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia. Just every far right group you could think of participated, from the alt right all the way up to straight up Klansmen and neo Nazis. And they gathered in Charlottesville to protest the removal of the statue of General Robert E. Lee from Charlottesville's park. And that's just that was the first thing that stuck out to me was like, because I mean, you see the pictures of the rally, you see people with Confederate flags marching alongside legit fucking Nazis
Yeah.
carrying the Nazi flag. And you've always heard the Confederate people, it's not about racism, it's about history. And it's just like that argument completely disintegrates when I see that shit. When you are marching with actual fucking Nazis, that argument goes away. It's not about history. You are a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no excusing it. And yet people still tried. I remember my girlfriend's mom, my girlfriend at the time, her mom tried to be like, she said, it was a complete disgrace, but she was like, I think the media is blowing it up a little too much though. And I go, there's actual fucking Nazis there. What is there to blow up? What is there to like exaggerate? It's actual fucking Nazis. We fought a fucking world war over this. I
Yeah.
don't know what you can exaggerate about actual fucking Nazis marching the streets of America. It's fucking bullshit. Imagine being a World War II veteran and waking up and seeing that shit on the fucking news.
Yeah.
And it was just fucking disgusting. It's like you have legit fucking Nazis and Klansmen marching in the streets shouting, "You will not replace us." What is there to fucking exaggerate or misinterpret?
Jews will not replace us.
Yeah,
Even
but
though it's like, yeah, which it's like, wait, I thought this was about a statue, and all of a sudden now we're
yeah,
screaming about Jewish people. Like what? Like I want to believe that there was at least one guy there who was like, oh wait, wow, I really did show up to the wrong thing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
um,
And it,
well,
it
no, I mean, get to the real meat of it. The president of the United States went on the TV and go ahead and finish that.
yeah,
Say what he had to say about them.
mind you, he did this after, the Virginia governor declared a state of emergency, and then the police declared the rally to be unlawful, and then one of the white supremacists purposefully drove his car into a group of counter protesters and killed somebody. So after that happened, the president, who was like 7 months into his term at this point, went on the news and he condemned hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides, which I'm like, there's only one side with bigotry and hatred here, bud. And then he went on to say that there were very fine people on both sides. No, there isn't. There is not very fine people on both sides. Again, we fought a fucking war, a world war about this. If you are a Nazi or a neo-Nazi or like one of these fuckers carrying around the Confederate flag hanging out with these people, you are not a fine person. You are a piece of shit. You are not even a person in my eyes. You are some sort of sub creature. Get hit by a bus.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the yeah, I mean, one side is protesting and speaking out against hate. The other side commits vehicular murder, not
Yeah.
manslaughter, vehicular murder.
First degree
Like,
murder is what he was convicted of.
don't try to tell me about this false moral equivalency.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing I can say about that was that the beautiful irony of it was um, Donald Trump basically shot his presidency right in the head right then, because that entire moment when he said very fine people on both sides, that moment was the entire reason why Joe Biden decided to run for president. He wasn't going to run again, but then he did that. So basically, that was when Donald Trump killed his own second term. So whatever.
And what was also nice was a lot of the white nationalists at the rally were getting identified left and right through social media because of the pictures taken of the rally, and they were getting fired and shit from their jobs.
I mean, that's always great to see, just like the
Yeah,
insurrection. It's
but
like,
it also really it opened my eyes to this, and I'm sure it opened a lot of people's eyes to this. It was just like we always think of these people as like these like scum of the earth hillbillies who like don't really do anything other than cause problems. But it's like no, like there were like legit doctors and lawyers and people who have a lot of influence in your community and like
Yeah,
everyday people's communities at these
yeah,
rallies, and it just really opened my eyes to just how deep this shit goes.
yeah. I mean, like, you know, you
Doctors
have,
and lawyers and judges
well,
and
not,
teachers.
or just also maybe even scarier than that, like people who you just always took for granted for being normal, like
Yeah,
your average Joe coworker,
yeah.
the guy that you bump in, your mailman, the guy that you bump into on your way to the grocery store, like
hmm
yeah, yeah, we kind of
I feel like that was what really like drew the battle lines for the state
yeah,
of the country currently.
the soul of
Yeah,
the soul of everything right then.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and this was when like Richard Spencer had become kind of sort of mainstream, but he
Oh
kind of
man,
disappeared himself.
when he got fucking sucker punched in the middle of the street, oh my god, that was uh mm,
And then don't forget the debate about that. Like, no, no, I'm against Nazis and stuff, but that's actually wrong. That's still assault. You can't do that.
yeah.
If you don't like the idea of Nazis getting punched, you're really not going to like these old guys that that did a
Yeah.
few things back in the 40s because we sent some of those guys over to do more than punch Nazis.
Yeah. We we
Um,
we we didn't take him out for dinner or anything.
no,
I mean, we
no.
just gave him jobs at NASA after the fact, but that's a
Which
story
is
for another time.
it just goes to show that like how phony they are. It's
Yeah.
like because conservatives always love to pound their chest to support the troops and red, white, and blue, Star Spangled Awesome, and
hmm
like oh, Saving Private Ryan is one of my favorite movies. They always love war movies or whatever. It's like okay, like you can't have it both ways. You can't love these pieces of cinema in which we're killing Nazis and then shake your head when modern day Nazis get punched. Like
Yeah.
what what kind of weird like satirical simulation do we live in?
Yeah.
Um, and then this also gave us one of the best episodes of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, where he talks about the Confederacy and just a moment where you see your basic cliche generic big guy holding a rebel flag, and there's a black gentleman talking to him. He's like, why do you carry that flag? He goes, this is the flag of my family, they fought to protect their farm. And he just goes, who is working on that farm? And he goes, they did, they were poor, do you know how much a slave cost back then? And
Jesus.
then it just had to stop. And John Oliver goes, "You have to understand, you are on the wrong side of the argument when your only point transforms into you screaming at a black man. Do you understand how expensive you used to be?" Um,
Yeah.
just yeah, that was ugly. So, but it's just. Did you ever see the movie Black Klansman?
No.
Apparently it starts with the audio of I forget her name, but the police report and the news report of the girl being killed by the vehicle.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I just I was really scared that the American public would just with how limited their attention span is and how wide pop culture can be, that they would just forget. But like I really needed those people to lose last year. Like
yeah.
I did not need them to win
I think I
again.
I think all of us needed that.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say on that.
All right. Well, then we will move on to the 2017 Las Vegas shooting. A 64-year-old man from Mesquite, Nevada, Stephen Paddock, opened fire upon the crowd attending the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival on the Las Vegas Strip in Nevada. Fired more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition from the 32nd floor at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Killed 60, wounded 411. Just one guy. And one guy in the span of about 10 minutes did that with one gun. And, and there had been other shootings before this that really sparked the current stage of gun violence in America. But I think this was really the thing where we realized just how flawed gun laws in this country are. Um, because this dude, like, he used what is known as a bump stock with his gun, which allowed it to basically fire at a rate very similar to an automatic weapon. Which that's a big argument with gun owners is they're like, well, the automatic weapons are illegal, so you can only have like this kind of gun or whatever. And it's just like, okay, but you can buy these things that basically make the same thing. So it did result in bump stocks being banned, but I mean, that's always just been my thing with guns. I don't necessarily have a problem with guns, in general. Um, I think if you want to own a gun, okay, whatever. If you want to own a gun to hunt, cool. If you want to own a gun for home protection, cool. Just be smart and safe about it, and be respectful about it, and understand that it is a weapon, not a toy. I just don't understand gun culture. I don't understand why there is gun culture. Um, saying you're a proud gun owner to me is like saying you're a proud remote control owner. It's not an identity. It's a tool, and I just don't get it. And I don't get how this misinformation about what the founding fathers felt about guns, because the founding fathers loved their gun laws. Um, I don't know how this misinformation and this misrepresentation like came to be the way it is now. Um, and it's just so crazy, gun laws in this country. Like I remember when Barack Obama, near the end of his second term, he did a town hall, and somebody asked him a question about gun laws. It was saying like, somebody, it was like a conservative voter who took issue with his stance on gun laws, and they asked him, your hometown of Chicago, they have some of the strictest gun laws, but they're also, they're the murder capital of the country. And Obama put it best. He's like, it's because the gun laws in this country are not uniform. It may be illegal to do this in Chicago, but it's not illegal to go outside of Chicago and buy a gun and then transport it into Chicago. Um, there's just no uniformity, so it's very easy to get around these laws that already have loopholes to begin with. Um, and I mean, Barack Obama put it best. He's like, if you're a suspected terrorist, I'm allowed to ban you as president. I'm allowed to ban you from flying, but I'm legally not allowed to ban you from buying a gun. And that's pretty fucking backwards to me.
He also reminded us that the CDC is not even allowed to study gun violence.
Yeah. So it's just a really weird culture that only exists in this country, and I think this highlighted that specifically. It didn't necessarily do a whole lot for the argument of gun violence because we were already kind of there, but I think it really highlighted a lot of the problems with gun culture and how it feeds into that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be long-winded about anything tonight, I want it to be one of the topic we can have more fun with. So I want to keep this short and not so sweet. Uh, I don't have a problem with your average, decent, basic American owning a hunting rifle or a handgun or revolver or pistol for home defense. Even though statistically you're more likely to have that item used against you, um, in a turn of events. But I don't think it should be possible for something like this piece of news, this story to happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, and that the NRA is a domestic terrorist organization.
Not to mention a lot of the fake news and conspiracy theories that went behind this. When they
Oh,
said,
what the actors and stuff.
yeah,
So
the actors, and somebody tried to say that like the shooter was a registered Democrat, which it's like I don't fucking care what his political affiliations are. It doesn't matter. Um, and then of course you had the people saying there were multiple shooters, and it's just like I don't fucking care if there's multiple shooters. Like it's still a problem. If anything, that would make it worse because that means more than
two
one
people
person.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just again, it very much highlighted a lot of the stupidity behind gun culture in this country.
Yeah. Yep.
Then we'll move on to the last headline event of 2017: Disney buying 21st Century Fox.
Oof.
Yeah, the moment that made everybody just kind of do a double take.
Yep.
Um, Disney bought 20th Century Fox for $71.3 billion, and that is an obscene amount to read. Um, and they specifically bought the movie studio division of Fox. You know, Fox News and all that is still very much a thing, unfortunately. Um, and this was the point where like Disney buying shit up got scary, and it just kind of, and this also kicked off a lot of other major mergers in the corporate conglomerate world of America. I mean, we got AT&T now owns fucking don't they own doesn't AT&T own Warner Brothers now,
Yes.
which is fucking crazy to me. And it's
And
like,
then Comcast and Universal have been one for a good bit now.
yeah, and it's just like the all of them, all media in one country should not be owned by like three companies. Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to tell you why that's a problem. Like
Yeah.
in in 2009 when Disney bought Marvel, I was like, okay, whatever, because I mean, Disney and Warner Brothers have always had that competition with each other, and Warner Brothers has always owned DC. So I was just like, oh, well, it makes sense for Disney to have their own comic book division to,
Yeah.
compete with Warner Brothers. And I was like, also like for me as a fan of Marvel, I'm like Marvel has always been just Marvel, just a publishing company. So now they'll have some legit like fuck you money behind them. So I mean, we might get some good stuff out of it, and we did. We got the MCU, and that's awesome. When Disney bought Star Wars, I was like, whatever. George Lucas wanted to sell his shit so he could retire and just be done with it. That's his decision, and his decision to sell it to who he wants for how much he wants. And we got the sequel trilogy out of it. And we got Star Wars to come back. Like Star Wars was taken out of hibernation. They brought it back, and that's as a fan of Star Wars, that's awesome. When Disney bought Fox, I was like, all right, this is getting a little out of hand. It would have been one thing if they had just bought the Marvel stuff that Fox had the movie rights to, just to be like, all right, we finally got all of our characters back. But when,
And A New Hope
yeah, but when they
because
bought,
they didn't actually own A New Hope at the time.
right, but when they bought fucking everything, I was like, yikes, that's a lot.
Well, it's also like, why does Disney have to own like Alien and Predator and
Yeah,
but I guess that's just nitpicking. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I mean it's a mixed bag because I don't think one or two or three companies should own all of media, but like on the other hand, I, Disney has actually been using the shit they bought, and I mean, as a fan of The Simpsons, in my opinion, has gotten better since Disney bought it. Um, and it's nice to see that they're like looking at all the stuff they own now, and they're like, okay, this stuff has been like dormant for a while. How can we revitalize it? Um, I mean, that's cool. I just wish that you know everything wasn't funneled into one company.
Yeah.
It's very much a mixed bag, but ultimately, when you get down to it, in the long run, even if the results are entertaining, monopolies are just not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's basically just the only opinion I have. There's rumors of them buying Sony now, isn't there?
I don't think that'll ever happen.
They should just they should just do what they did. They should just do what you just said they should have done, and they should just buy Spider-Man.
I don't
Like
think that'll ever happen.
but
So,
I'm saying,
Sony will never give up the movie rights to Spider-Man.
well, I'm just saying, like, if hopefully they just don't buy all of Sony. But yeah, like, um, it's kind of weird that Disney now owns both Star Wars and Avatar, especially since Avatar was supposed to be the new Star Wars and
Yeah.
whatever. But um, yeah, I mean, I can understand that they wanted to buy the Marvel properties back and A New Hope, but um, yeah, like just to echo, like I shouldn't have to explain why the majority of a industry should not be owned by just a handful, a handful of companies that you can count on, just a few fingers. But and then also like it's gonna stop like little things that we didn't think of. Like first of all, people are like, "Oh wow, now the X-Men can be in the Avengers." It's like, yeah, you tell that to the families of people that just got laid off at 20th Century Fox. Like, no kids going home being like, "Wow, Dad lost his job," but at least Iron Man can have a quip with Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
And and also like apparently Disney's like a dickhead when it comes to their movies being shown like in community theaters or whatever. Like how
yeah.
the what's the name of the theater on Main Street in Frostburg? I always forget it. I always forget the name.
I don't remember either. The one that's only open like once or twice a year.
But I mean, that was cool because like in 2017 into 2018, they were having like random movies. Like they were showing like The Road Warrior. They showed John Carpenter's The Thing. They did The Fellowship of the Ring, and then they did Home Alone. And yeah, like apparently now that they'll stop that from happening with their movies.
Hmm.
Like now Home Alone can't play like at Christmas time in little community theaters, and it's like Disney, like why? Like well, it's like, well, we can play it at our movie theaters at Disney parks. It's like, okay, I can understand maybe Home Alone, but like you were never gonna play the original Alien or Predator at Disney World. Like that's not gonna happen. So why are you have to be a dickhead about it?
Joke's on you. That's when they'll do it this Halloween just to fuck with us.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be them trying to compete with Hollywood Horror Nights or whatever at
Yeah.
Universal, which I always
Also,
want them to do.
also, somebody in the chat just commented that the theater in Frostburg is called the Palace Theater.
The Palace Theater, very good. Thank you, random commenter. Who was that?
My boss.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, no, and that was fun. I saw Home Alone at the Palace, Christmas 2017. It was right before I went to my would be later on wife's Christmas party at her apartment
Did
on
you
Main
watch Home
Street.
Alone?
What, at her place?
Yeah.
No, no, but I saw it at the Palace.
Oh, I picked a weird time to space out. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. No, the Palace played Home Alone. And
Okay.
then the month before that they did Fellowship of the Ring. Um, which they never did the Two Towers again, which is weird. They should have like done it like one movie a month, like where I don't know. But then I remember that Halloween 2017, they did John Carpenter's The Thing, and I took my cousin Ryan to see it, and he had never seen The Thing before, and it was just a really cool experience. But yeah, like apparently that will be difficult now too.
Well, Disney straight up school like sues schools for having like plays based on their properties.
Oh, my sister, when she was graduating for yearbook club, they wanted the theme, like their graduation theme or their yearbook theme, to be like Disney,
Nope.
And she had to spend so many hours on the phone talking to their lawyers
Hmm.
or a lawyer or some lawyers of theirs. They probably have thousands of lawyers.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, it's a high school in like
Yeah.
a mountain town that just wants to use like some outlines of Mickey Mouse and Aladdin in their yearbook. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. If anything,
Um,
that's just free advertising, man.
yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm going off the rails. Back to you.
All right, well, let's move on to movies for 2017. We don't have, as lengthy of a list as we usually do, just because a lot of the movies that came out in 2017 we've either already talked about or are going to have like designated episodes for those movies, so no point in repeating ourselves. So the first one we got for tonight, Baby Driver. I unfortunately have not seen this one, but I remember hearing about it all over the place when it came out. I meant to watch it before this episode. I didn't have time to. Please don't cancel me, but go ahead and gush about it.
Well then I don't want to have a one-sided conversation here. I'll just say
No,
it's a
go
really
ahead. That means I don't have to do anything for a bit.
well, I'll just say like it's a really fun movie. It's really entertaining and enjoyable. It's just a likable movie. It's just a very likable movie. Um, it's it's kind of like I mean it's you can't really say it's the family friendly Drive because it's still rated R, but it's like the more toned down Drive, I guess you could say. It has a really cool soundtrack, and yeah, I liked it. It was definitely one of the coolest movies of the summer. Um, and it was one of the it was I think it was the last movie we saw Kevin Spacey in before we found out.
Before he got canceled.
Yep, yep. And there is literally a line in the movie where he goes, "I just couldn't believe the balls on this boy,"
Hmm.
and I'm
Unfortunate.
like, "Wow, dialogue that just aged bad."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I don't want to talk in circles here. So Donnie, I still highly recommend it. Maybe we'll just watch it together sometime. But yeah, everybody else, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. And if you did see it, watch it again because I feel like it's just one of those movies where it came out, everybody agreed that they liked it, and then they just kind of never, I don't know, it just kind of faded a little bit. So yeah, everybody watch it again.
Is it on Hobo?
I mean, I own it on Blu-ray anyway, but like it has to be on something. Hold on, let me look because then that's just gonna bug me all night. Stream.
I got Hulu, Disney, and Hobo. I think we can eliminate it being on Disney. Uh,
Um,
so it's got to be on Hulu or Hobo for me to watch it.
No, it's definitely not on Disney because it's like Universal. It's not a Disney movie.
Then Hobo is my only hope.
So, you don't have Netflix anymore?
No, I never had Netflix.
Oh, and you don't have Hulu.
I have Hulu.
Oh, you keep calling it Hobo?
No, I'm calling HBO Hobo.
Wow, I'm like really getting confused by this entire conversation.
The Hobo will do that to you.
um, so yeah, it says it's on Hulu with a premium subscription.
Oh, fuck that. Oh
When
wait,
I
does it by premium does it mean like the ad free one, or does it mean one of that shit that's like, oh, you can watch this with like the live TV subscription. It's like 70 fucking bucks. It's like fuck off.
I don't know, when I hear premium subscription, maybe I'm confusing this with something else. Like before, like it'll say it's on Hulu if you want to pay extra for like Stars or Showtime or
Yeah,
Cinemax.
I hate that shit.
Um, I don't know. Maybe it's on Hulu. You'll just have to check it out, Donnie. I don't know. And if not, I'll just let you borrow my Blu-ray. Calm down.
I'm sorry. I just get really angry about the business practices of Hulu.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm just glad Hulu still exists because, oh, that was another thing Disney bought. Disney bought Hulu,
I
and
mean,
I was like,
Disney's owned Hulu pretty much since the beginning. I mean,
well, no, well, they overtook the majority, and
well,
I
yeah,
think
that's
like
true. Yeah,
I think they were like sharing it with like Universal or
and
whatever.
Fox.
Yeah, and Fox, but now Disney like has the majority of Hulu, which, from what I can tell, they're just going to use Hulu for like their stuff that's a little too mature or edgy to be put on Disney Plus.
Yeah, anytime they need to keep the muck off the mouse.
Whatever, whatever works for them. Anyway, back to you.
All right, next movie, Wonder Woman. If there was a movie that DC needed to get right, it was fucking this one. And they did. I mean, because so far we had Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, which were very divisive. So they needed a hit. They needed a hit badly. And the next movie they had on the list was the first movie that the first lady of comics was ever going to have, and it was going to be directed by a woman. So it's just like, all right, if this one like is actually good, it's just going to be a home run, and it was good. It's a very good movie. I enjoy it, and I think also what it did for the industry and for the culture surrounding the industry is much more important than whether or not the movie was good or bad. But it is a good movie, even if it is a bit formulaic. So that's all I got to say about that. I'd like to pretend that Wonder Woman 84 doesn't fucking exist. Um, Yikes. That was a
Yeah,
bad fucking movie.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just crazy to look at Wonder Woman and be like, that's a good movie, and go to Wonder Woman 84 and just go, what happened? Um,
It's as I said a million times. It's like going quality wise. It's like going from Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man 3.
I think you're I think you're giving Wonder
Giving
Woman
it to
84 too much credit. At least
Yeah,
Spider-Man 3 I can have some morbid fun with.
yeah,
Wonder Woman 84 just kind of gave me a migraine.
yeah. But yeah, Wonder Woman 1, WW1, get it? Because it takes place during World War One.
Ah,
Um, it's enjoyable. I really like it. Yeah, it is a great movie. It was the first DCEU movie to break the Rotten Tomatoes curse.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I was like,
Hey, ain't nothing rotten about that tomato.
no, and I was like, they need to like not mess up this movie. They can't
Yeah,
drop the ball on this one.
yeah,
I mean, granted, the first time Batman and Superman ever were on the same screen together, I wish that was a more like universally appreciated movie, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, some of the CGI is a little cringy,
yeah,
and I'm sorry, and I know we said this on the ridiculous podcast, but um, they needed another actor to play Ares. Like
yeah.
they got Professor Lupin from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and it's just they got the most British man ever to play the God of War. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like you can't have a
You,
Greek god
you
played
can't
by
you can't have the God of War played by a goober.
yeah, you can't have him played by the human equivalent of a crumpet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but other than that, like it's just one of those movies where it's so good there's just not much to say about it. Like it's just a good movie. I do need to see it again because I feel bad. I only saw it that one time in theaters.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I'll definitely watch that again one day.
I just my favorite thing about it is the fact that they made Wonder Woman badass in this movie. She is not like sexualized at all in this movie. You take one look at that girl and you're like, she will kick my ass.
Yeah,
And that's awesome because that is what I want to see in a Wonder Woman movie.
but they also don't make her like this robotic butt kicking
Right,
machine to the
right.
point like she's not just the good guy in it, like she's a good person. Like
Yeah.
she is good in every sense of the
Like
word.
that, like the scene when they first arrive in London and she's just like losing her shit over everything because it's just like a whole new like world. Like she's losing her shit over ice cream and babies and stuff. I'm just like, that's a good scene. Makes you
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this movie was supposed to do. It just they needed to make a movie that just made everybody feel good.
Yeah. Let's move on to a movie that didn't make anybody feel good. Get Out.
But it was a great movie.
It was a great movie. It just made you feel a little uncomfortable. But hey, that's what it set out to do. Directorial debut of Jordan Peele, and I remember seeing the previews for this movie. I saw a trailer for it. I forget what movie I was seeing in theaters that had the trailer for this, but I remember seeing the trailer and just like the first couple seconds when they're kind of setting up the premise of like a you know African American guy getting kidnapped by this white family that may or may not be racist, and they're like doing stuff with them and like. And when I saw, directed by Jordan Peele, I was expecting the trailer to make like some sort of twist to turn into like some sort of Chappelle skit,
Yeah,
and that didn't happen, and I got concerned.
yeah,
Because I was like, what the fuck is this movie doing and where is it going?
yeah.
Because this does not look like a Jordan Peele flick. This looks like a M. Night Shyamalan flick.
Hmm.
Because I remember watching Key and Peele on Comedy Central and loving the shit out of that show. So when I saw that, I was like, talk about a fucking departure from form. Um,
And then
so
like you didn't know which direction it was going because like remember the iconic shot of him trying to do the fist pump and then the guy just shakes his hand and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like okay what direction is this movie going in?
yeah. But the movie came out and I saw it and I was like, damn, man, that was a good social commentary movie. And I like how there is still kind of a twist in it. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, but this family is kidnapping black people so they can basically do like a body swapping thing with clients that they have. Basically, put them in these black people's bodies so they can have like a new body for whatever reason they want. And I like how there is kind of a twist where it's like it's not necessarily about race. It's not so much because you're black. It's just because black is what's in fashion right now. So it's like it's kind of like racial, but it's kind of not at the same time. It's just a very interesting twist. It's just like when he's explaining it to him, he's just like, why black people? It's like I don't know. It's just what's in right now. Some people like the way you look. And me personally, I just want your eyes, man. And it's because he's the guy who's taken his body is blind, and he used to be a photographer. So it's still a very interesting twist while still maintaining that social commentary on a very real issue in America.
Hmm.
Um, and it's definitely a movie that keeps your interest. And it definitely made me go, damn, I can't wait to see what else Jordan Peele does next. And his follow-up movie was Us, which was good, not as good, but good. And then what's he got coming up next? What's it called again?
Nope.
Nope. It's just a picture of a fucking cloud.
But you know what? Like, it's gonna. I'm already planning to see it. Like, I've basically purchased the ticket in my head.
Yeah, but Get Out, good movie. So Blake, why don't you do the opposite of Get Out and get into this movie?
Jesus Christ.
He's not
Um.
here right now. Leave a message.
Okay. I think Get Out is a masterpiece. It's a modern masterpiece. It was done so amazingly well. I mean, you had someone who was just mainly known for comedy. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was almost like finding out that Seth MacFarlane was going to make a serious movie almost.
Yeah.
And 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 the
It,
trailer
it
was
was it was almost like having The Grapes of Wrath directed by Seth Rogen.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, like the trailers were a little awkward, and it was just hard to get a feel for it.
Hmm.
And it has once you actually sit down and watch it, and it finally hits you, like you're
Hmm.
able to digest what this movie is about and what the plot is and what's going on. I was like, holy shit. Um,
I like how it also makes fun of white people who try too hard to be woke.
yes, yes, which was very important at the time.
Hmm.
You know, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could have. I
Yeah.
mean, I would have too, but I mean,
Yeah, I don't feel the
it's,
need to tell that to every black person I meet.
that's not the first thing I say to a black guy, or like, oh yeah, I love Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Like, yes, like we needed to call those people out just as much.
Yeah.
Where it's like, please don't help me. um, and I mean, yeah, I just think so much of it is done masterfully well. Did you only see it that one time, Donnie?
Yeah.
You you should see it again, because when you watch it again, you have to watch Rose the whole time, the girlfriend, because the first time you're not looking for it, but
Oh
then the
yeah, but
second,
when you know what the ending is and where it's
yeah,
going, yeah,
yeah,
you yeah.
everything she does and how everything she acts, it has a whole new meaning to it.
Hmm.
Um, and it has one of my favorite, like I just love watching movie trailers, and I love watching TV spots, and I always love the commercials for a movie where it has like the critic quotes in it, and it's like doing the reviews or whatever, where it's like USA Today gives it 4 stars. Like, I always love those. And it has one of my favorite review TV spots for any movie ever. It's just called Bold and Brave, and it's like a minute long, and it's doing like a more creepy version of Childish Gambino's "Stay Woke," or "Redbone" was the song. And yeah, I mean, um, I I just love this movie so much, and I I'm really looking forward to Nope. And yeah, I mean, there's no sense getting into Us, because we'll probably talk about that when 2019 comes around. Final thought is that there's this really good Vanity Fair video in which Jordan Peele is reading fan theories on Reddit around Get Out, and his reaction to people online coming up with their own fan theories. I'll have to send it to you, Donnie. It's a really good one, but check that out too. But yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie twice. I mean, between now and next summer, when his third film comes out, I'll probably see it a third time. I still need to see Us a second time, but no, I'm very impressed. Like, good for him. And he won the Oscar for this. He won Best Original Screenplay.
Yep.
It's like, that's awesome. Like, somebody who, like, you know, we try to typecast people in real life. Like, oh, well, you were a funny guy, so you can only do funny stuff. Like, no, like, he made one of the most important horror films of the decade, probably just one of the most important movies of the decade, period. And it was also like a crowd pleasing event film from a major studio. So just awesome. Knocked it out of the park. Back to you.
All right, well, we'll move on to another horror movie that came out that year, It, Chapter 1. And I mean, hey, it's pretty ballsy to make a remake of It to begin with, considering how popular the Tim Curry version is. Um, that's one of those movies that you almost feel like it'd be blasphemous to try to remake, but they did it. And I feel like with It Chapter 1, I still haven't seen Chapter 2. I just never got around to it. But Chapter 1, I liked it a lot, and I think they got for the kids, they had a really good cast. Um, and I think what they did with Pennywise, like Pennywise, in my opinion, is a million times creepier in this movie than he is in the Tim Curry version.
Yeah,
Because in the Tim Curry version, he's still playing like basically Tim Curry. Like
right,
it's creepy, but it's just Tim Curry fucking around for the
right.
most part. Nah, and this like I totally believe this motherfucker eats children. And yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I really need to sit down and watch Chapter 2 sometime.
Yeah, another great horror film from 2017. I absolutely adored it, chapter one, or just it at the time. I thought it was just a very beautiful horror epic, not just a horror flick, but it was like a horror epic because it had that adventure feel to it. Um, and it was about, your first love and that one summer that you romanticize and are nostalgic over for the rest of your life, and your childhood friendships. It's just, I mean, the book is also very popular, but it's just a great story, and it has so much going on with it. It's not one note at all. It's not just about like scares, and it's not just a slasher flick.
Hmm.
And this did make me realize how, with all due respect to everyone involved with the original TV movie, because a lot of people forget that it was a two-part limited series on ABC. But
Hmm.
other than Tim Curry is just wonderful. He was great. One of the best villains of my childhood, because he was also Long John Silver in my favorite Muppet movie, The Treasure Island. But other than Tim Curry, the quote unquote original It is far from perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, it's dated. Like it has plenty of wrinkles on it. And again, other than Tim Curry, the rest of the film just isn't that amazing. Um, Other than the kid actor who played Billy,
Hmm.
who that actor actually committed suicide just a few years after that, which was very, very sad, very tragic. I believe he was also in one of the Neverending Story movies.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the original it aged,
Yeah.
but
What I
this
what
movie,
I said they should have done. I mean, granted, I said this before I found out that the one child actor committed suicide. Since in the story, Pennywise comes back roughly every 27 years or so.
hmm
And this movie, well, It Chapter 2, this movie was coming out 27 years after the TV movie with
right,
Tim Curry, and then It Chapter 2 came out 2 years later, so still roughly 27 years later. I
yeah,
said they just to really like make it meta, they should have just got the group of child actors from that TV movie and had them play the adults in Chapter 2.
yeah, like Seth Green.
Yeah.
Um, no, that would have been interesting. Or they could have just done an absolutely baller move and not make this chapter two for another 27 years.
Yeah.
It just
Hey,
had the
you know what? This movie is a million times better than the other Stephen King movie that came out this year, Dark Tower.
God. Even Stephen King was like, never mind.
Another waste of Idris Elba.
Yeah, but but I love almost everything about the first It. I'm gonna go ahead and do a spoiler here, Donnie. Chapter two isn't as good, but we kind of already knew that was going to be the case because the kid adventure aspect of it is just far more exciting than sad adults.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, if I want a sad adult, I'll just take a look at myself for an hour.
but I love the. I'm gonna brush right past that. I loved how they did like they changed the time period. It takes place in 1989,
Hmm.
and in the background at the local movie theater, you see the Tim Burton Batman and Lethal Weapon 2 on the marquee. Um, and yeah, I mean, Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise, he knocked it out of the park. Like, he was one creepy mofo. He was one son of a bitch. Um, and yeah, I mean, the actress who plays Beverly was great. Sidebar. Oh, God, I became so exhausted with the whole. Yeah, Amy Adams should play adult Beverly. Oh, why? Why do you want Amy Adams? "Well, I just think she would be really good. You just think she would be really good because she has red hair, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so
just
many fan,
just
so
like
many.
just like how Bryan Cranston should play Zordon because he was bald.
Yeah, it's like fan casting on the internet needs to think outside the box. Like Hollywood is known for having really good wigs and makeup. Like, you don't have to have a bald person play another bald person.
Now hold on a second.
Um, but and it was just also like, what a funny movie too. Like this movie was like had some great jokes in it. Especially from the kid from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just go suck your dad's dick, you mullet wearing asshole. This motherfucker's like an hamburger helper. but yeah, it's just it would have been a great movie for all of us to watch together. I'll always be a little bummed out that we all didn't go opening night to it. Um, and but yeah, no, you should definitely check out chapter 2 before the 2019 episode, Donnie, because I'll definitely want to talk about that one.
I'll try to.
But yeah, no, I don't want to talk in circles. It chapter 1, it's aesthetically pleasing, great acting. I'm really glad they didn't drop the ball on this movie. I'm glad that we had to sacrifice the Dark Tower for this to be better universe.
Yeah, but man, I was looking forward to the Dark Tower movie.
Well,
Just because and I think anybody who's read the Dark Tower books will agree with me. The ending to the Dark Tower books is fucking infuriating. It almost feels like a giant fucking middle finger. So when I found out that they were making a movie that's supposed to take place after that ending, I'm like, fuck yes, we're finally gonna get redemption from that fucking ending. And that movie was a giant fucking dog turd. And not only was it a giant fucking dog turd, you wasted fucking Idris Elba, who is a wonderful, beautiful man, and I can't believe you wasted him like that.
well, one day we will have to explain to future generations why exactly Idris Elba wasn't the leading man in every movie he was in.
Because that's the power of racism.
I
Next
think
movie,
also like I think also he just has had bad luck and we just keep wasting him. But
that too, yeah.
I mean he made me care about a comic book character I never heard of before. So good for him.
Heimdall?
Or Bloodsport.
Oh, I forgot he played Bloodsport for a second. I'm sorry. You ever eat so much food that it made you kind of stupid?
Yes.
That's where I'm at tonight.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the next movie, Disaster Artist. Uh, this is a movie that like the second you see the previews, you're just like, all right, this is gonna be a fun fucking ride. Um, I mean, just Tommy Wiseau in and of himself is just kind of a fucking goofy character. So to have a movie that is about the making of the most notoriously bad movie of all time is just like it's a real treat. And I mean, James Franco as Tommy Wiseau is it's perfect casting. Like he's got all the mannerisms and everything down perfectly. And reading the book is just amazing. It's just so fun watching this crew just go deeper into this rabbit hole that this man continuously digs during this entire production. Um, I just love the entire section devoted to how Tommy Wiseau refused to believe that the dog in the flower shop scene was a real dog. And I mean, Tommy Wiseau, I've said before, I don't think he's actually a person of this planet. I mean, I've seen, you watch The Room, and, I've seen movies where foreigners try to pretend to be American. I've seen movies where Americans try to pretend to be foreign. And this was the first time I saw an alien pretend to be a human being. Um, it's just, I mean, the movie that this movie is about is goofy in and of itself, but this, like, the disaster artist managed to add like several extra layers to that humor. Um, I mean, the only complaint I have about it is it's too damn short. Like, I feel like it needed like another half hour or so. Um, but other than that, I mean, it's just a really funny movie, and it's definitely worth a watch.
I was at one point, in the I guess the second half of the 2010s, I was excited for this movie more than any other movie at the time. Like when I first heard that, James Franco and Seth Rogen were going to make a movie about the making of The Room and James Franco was going to play Tommy Wiseau, I was like, that's awesome. And keep in mind, this was before it became, mainstream news that James Franco's disgusting.
Yeah,
So pardon my excitement there in hindsight.
please
Um,
don't cancel us.
yeah, but no, I was like this because I always loved Pineapple Express, and we loved This Is the End,
Yeah,
and I was like
I was gonna say
this,
I don't love Pineapple Express.
and I was like this is awesome, like, and I even bought the book and I read over the book and I was just really pumped for this movie and it it fell short. Like I I was because I remember like I was seeing like the first photos of James Franco in makeup as Tommy Wiseau and like around December 2015, and this movie did not come out until December 2017. So I had like 2 years to hype this movie up in my head, and I was like, "This is going to be the comedy that defines this generation." Like every decade has that one movie that defines its generation. The 1980s had The Breakfast Club. The 1990s had like I guess Scream, how it like kind of defined the anxiety of Gen X, with slasher films or whatever. Like this is going to be the new definitive film, and I was like, man, I need to calm the fuck down when it comes to movies. But yeah, I mean, it's good, it's enjoyable, but like you said, it is too damn short. It's almost too damn short to the point where it annoys me. Like I have to like minus points from it. It should have gone on for at least another half hour, and it just didn't have that like epic, profound feel that I thought it was gonna have. And then again, like you had mentioned, the one scene or the one chapter in the book where he doesn't believe that the dog in the flower shop is real. That's not even in the fucking movie.
Yeah,
And that was like one of the fan favorites of the book. In fact, that was such a popular and maybe even almost iconic part of the novel that it is used as the preview clip for the audiobook. If you go on Amazon or whatever and you're like, listen to a snippet of The Disaster Artist, it's that part. And I'm like, how do you make a movie of a book that isn't even that long and then you take out the most popular part of the book? And Michael was like, "Wow, for the first time ever, Blake had to learn in his mid-20s that the book is always better." Like Blake learned what so many of us learned when we were teenagers. Um, and you know what? That's because I recently learned how to read. And
good
and you
job.
know what? You know what? I wish I didn't know how to fucking read all over again. No, anyway, I'm playing it up for laughs. Again, it's good for a couple giggles, but it should have been like it should have been a lot better. If anything, the funniest moment about this movie or around this movie was seeing Hugh Jackman's reaction to
Yeah,
James Franco win the Golden Globe over him.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's just like I finally made my dream project and I sung and danced my heart out and I just got beat by a kid who's just doing an impression of the world's worst actor. Like what reality do I live in right now? Um, and then I
I
remember
thought for
you.
for a second I thought James Franco was not James. I thought Hugh Jackman was going to reenact the sink scene from Prisoners when that happened.
Or when they announced the Academy Awards and how The Disaster Artist was up for Best Adapted Screenplay along with Logan, and you're like, all right, if the disaster artist wins this one, Hugh Jackman may very much become the Wolverine. But yeah, no. Yeah, that's all I got to say. It's funny. It was kind of fun, but should have been a lot better.
I just like the scene when he picks up Greg from his mom's house, and the mom's just like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm the same age as Greg." "Oh, you're 19." "Yeah." "Well, I just turned 15." "Oh, happy birthday."
You have the perfect presence of evil. I can picture you as a classic villain, Frankenstein, Dracula. I'm not Frankenstein. I am Hero.
You should watch because it's on YouTube. Tommy Wiseau got his Screen Actors Guild card by doing a commercial for like the business he owned, and it's pretty funny.
Also, maybe Johnny is vampire. We'll
We'll
see.
see. All right. Well, last movie. Speaking of huge jacked man, we'll talk about the last movie of the night, The Greatest Showman. What a weird project. Just a musical about P.T. Barnum and the circus he created. Um, just not a project I would ever expect to be made. Um,
Yeah,
just because it's just such a just on paper it sounds so weird. And it's
yeah.
even weirder when you find out that Hugh Jackman's starring in it, just because it's like Hugh Jackman in a fucking musical. But no, I
Well,
think
that's what he
this
was known for originally.
really
Yeah, you didn't know that?
no.
Yeah, like before the first X-Men, like Hugh Jackman was a Broadway actor.
Well, I can't afford Broadway tickets, so that's why I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, no, if anything, that is more his background than comic book movies or thrillers. Yeah, no,
Well,
he's a musical man.
I didn't know that, but I was about to say that I feel like this movie really showed that Hugh Jackman can fucking do it all. He can do the comic book movies, he can do musicals, he can do dramas. Um, Motherfucker, he's got all the bases covered. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm not really a huge musical person myself. Nothing against them, they're just not my jam really. But I enjoyed Greatest Showman for the most part. It had some catchy tunes, a couple bops here and there. Every song a hit, every hit a smack. Um, but I mean, it was just a fun movie. It was a cool, interesting movie, and it had a lot of dynamic going on that really kept you invested. It's just I mean, if you have like 2 hours to kill, rainy day, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable movie. Shout out to Sean, who this is one of his favorite movies, actually.
Really.
In fact, I think he saw this movie more than like many other movies. I think he saw this movie like 9 times in theaters, and granted, they were all free. And he saw Beauty and the Beast like 13 times.
Sean must be
The
on crack.
Beauty and the Beast remake, I thought it was good. We didn't
13
get to
times though.
Sean loves his musicals. Um,
Oh hey, whatever
but
whatever
yeah,
gets him going.
but yeah, no. And then at his farewell, they were like, "Okay, we can play any movie you want. We'll just hook up a Blu-ray player to the projector." And he was like, "I want to watch The Greatest Showman one last time," and he sung along to the majority of it.
That's
But yeah,
sweet. That sweet boy.
that sweet boy. Um, but yeah, no, it's an enjoyable movie. It's one again. It's another one of those movies where there isn't too much to say about it. I'm not going to start. I'm not going to start, humming along the songs right now for the podcast. But yeah, I really liked it. It's just a likable, feel good movie, even though people bring up the thing where it's like, yeah, in real life, P.T. Barnum was a terrible person, and he was a con man, a con artist, and he was a corrupt sleazeball. And it's like, just let us enjoy a movie for once. Like, we don't have to go into how he probably wasn't good to animals or he didn't treat the carnies nice, but just let's let us enjoy a movie for a movie. And that's exactly what I did here. So
Hey, P.T. Barnum might have been a shit person, but Hugh Jackman is a wonderful soul.
yes,
So
so
it so it evens out.
we'll just pretend that this is just the magical world of Hugh Jackman.
All right, well, then we'll move on to popular TV shows of 2017. Just going to run through the list here. We got Dragon Ball Super, which was the return of Dragon Ball to TV. And Dragon Ball Super, I didn't watch the whole series. I watched like maybe the first half of it. I enjoyed Dragon Ball Super. I think it fixes a lot of the mistakes that Dragon Ball Z had, especially like the latter half of Dragon Ball Z. It made a lot of the like characters that kind of got like forgotten about relevant and interesting again, like Gohan and Piccolo and Krillin. Like it doesn't all revolve around Goku and Vegeta in Super, which is nice. Um, and then the Netflix series of unfortunate events series started in 2017, which I just randomly came across it one day and just started watching it and got hooked immediately. I never did watch the final season. I need to go back and watch it, but I loved the first two seasons. And I never saw the Nickelodeon like live action movie that they did with Jim Carrey, but I heard it was pretty mediocre. But I really liked the series on Netflix. I've never read the books either. Maybe I'll go and do that sometime. But I really like the Netflix series. I definitely recommend it. And then Marvelous Mrs. Maisel started in 2017 as well. I've mentioned that show a bunch of times on this podcast. I love that show. That was like just a random show I like stumbled across during the pandemic, and I watched like all three seasons that are currently out, and I fucking love that show. Like I said before, it's about a 1960s housewife who tries to be a comedian, which I relate to, also being a 1960s housewife trying to be a comedian. Um, it's just a really fucking funny show. It's just very witty, and it's I love it. I definitely recommend it. You need to watch that show, Blake. Um, and then the Castlevania anime on Netflix also started in 2017, which was fucking awesome. I'm a fan of the Castlevania games, and when they announced there was going to be an anime, I was like, okay, that's neat. And then like the first episode just fucking gets you hooked, and I mean it's just good from beginning to end. Even if you aren't like really into the Castlevania games or know nothing about them, I still recommend this anime. Like it's especially if you're kind of like into like kind of gothic horror kind of stuff. It's just really cool. But that is all I got to say about that.
I have not seen any of those shows, but I will totally check out The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
You won't check out Castlevania?
Uh,
Come on, that's a family show. You should totally watch it.
isn't it like an anime?
What?
Isn't it like an anime or whatever?
Yeah, but it's not like, it's not like anime. It's not like Pokemon or whatever. Like it just has an art style that's kind of like anime.
I'll think about it.
Well, quit thinking and get watching. Nah, trust me, you'll like it.
Oh, I'll hold you to that.
Okay, do. Well, then we'll finish out the show with music of 2017. I had you help me with the music list just because, again, music is just not a strong point for me, especially the more modern we get. The only song I really like remember from 2017 is "Shape of You" by Ed Sheeran, just because I remember hearing that all the fucking time, and I remember hearing it all the fucking time, and I remember people talking about it and talking about him. And then the first time I saw a picture of him, I went, "Oh."
He looks like a frog.
Yeah, he looks like he got put in the microwave a little too long.
But he's apparently like the nicest dude ever, though.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's awesome. Um, but other than that, like you sent me a bunch of like songs and stuff for music for this year. Let's see here, like what did you send me? Or do you want to go through it?
I'll go ahead and go through it. Let
Yeah,
me bring it up.
go
I'm
for it.
just gonna do a speed round since you don't, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the suicide hotline phone number by Logic, 1-800-273-8255. A really good song, very profound. It's a depressing song though, but you know what? Like our generation loves depressing songs.
Yeah.
Praying by Kesha, this was like her comeback song. This was like the first song she had in a while, I feel like, because I think what her agent, her manager is like an abuser.
Yeah.
Um, and Sony, nor the court, um, has allowed her to break free of her contract with him. She's
Mm-hmm.
not even trying to seek revenge against him. She's not trying to like send him to jail or take money from him. Like she just doesn't want to work with him anymore.
Right.
Like very, very, very depressing.
Yeah.
The Reputation album by Taylor Swift, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I like Endgame. Um, and I remember she had, and that's a song that she has with Ed Sheeran, like I want to be your end game. And I remember I was hanging out with Sean and his sister Marissa, and she had a countdown to her new song like in late April 2019, and it was going to come out the same night as Avengers Endgame. And Marissa was like, she called it. She predicted. She tried to tell us. Like, um, and then you had "I Don't Want to Live Forever" by Taylor Swift for the 50 Shades Darker soundtrack. I mean, those movies are very toxic.
Yeah.
And the people who love them are toxic in loving them. But yeah, I mean,
Wow,
it
way to
was
call me out.
what?
I'm just squeezing your buns. I'm just joshing.
um, and then the song "Bad and Bougie." Um, I
Okay, I remember that song.
I get the biggest kick out of that song. So does Kogel. But also, there is a YouTube remix that combines "Bad and Bougie" with "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire,
Oh my
and
God.
it is amazing. You need to look that up.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
the Damn album by Kendrick Lamar. Hashtag Remember Gardena. I like Kendrick Lamar a lot. Very good album. And then this one's for you, Sean. Red Pill Blues by Maroon 5 finally came out. We had really been waiting for it. You had Don't Want to Know that came out in 2016. And then I remember Valentine's Day 2017, the music video for Cold came out and with Future. And it was a really cool music video. And I just remember one night I was like having like a really surreal, out of it, kind of weird mood kind of night. And I just had the song Cold on repeat and I fell asleep to it and listened to it for hours in my sleep. And yeah, it's a really cool song. I think those songs are the superior songs on this album, and they're two of my favorite Maroon 5 songs because they sound unlike anything else they've ever made before or since. But there's also some good ones, like the song Whiskey is really good. Um, they have a song with Lunch Money Lewis. That's good. I know you have no idea what I'm talking about, Donnie, but yeah,
Lunch Money Lewis.
there is a musician named Lunch Money Lewis.
Munch Money Lewis.
Yeah, Lunch
Fucking,
Money Lewis.
that sounds like a fucking kid that would get beat up on the schoolyard in elementary school.
It sounds like a character from Disney's Recess.
It's Lunch Money Lewis. Get him.
But anyway, yeah, that was for you, Sean. I talked about The Greatest Showman and Red Pill Blues in the same episode. Shout out to you. I mentioned we were doing that, and he was like, "You didn't invite me on?" Sean, I think I did you a favor because I don't think you were going to want to talk about the Unite the Right rally. So,
He's too
um,
precious for that.
I don't mean to I don't mean to be a spoiler, but I would like to tease a future episode we have coming up that I would very much like Sean and a couple other of our buddies on, where we finally talk about a few of the films of A24, where we shall forever be known as the avant guardians of the galaxy.
You just want to have an episode where I just get fucking butt hurt the whole time.
Yes, because your pain gives me strength.
This is a great dynamic we have.
Yep.
And this is why this show's gonna last forever.
We'll see. But speaking of shows, why don't you go ahead and make your plug just once more? And before you do that, everybody, once again, if you need the details, um, uh, it is on Puka Saucy and follow at Don John Laughs for everything he is about to say. Go ahead, Donnie. This is your moment.
This Thursday, September 2nd, I will be performing stand up at the open mic show at Magooby's Joke House in Timonium, Maryland, near downtown Baltimore. Show starts at 7:30. Doors open at 7. Tickets are $10. You can call and reserve ahead of time. And there is a 2 item minimum, so expect to spend about $30 for the night out. But yeah, it'll be me and last time I went it was like 10 comedians that performed. So me and several other comedians performing at the open mic, and winner gets $100. The best set gets $100, and also gets invited to be on the uh, show at the end of the year with all the other winners from the entire year. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to just being on the stage for the first time in months too. So if you can make it, definitely come out, support me. Definitely appreciate it. And if you can't come out, then you obviously don't love me enough, and I won't hold it against you forever. Um,
And if you are one of those people, I would love to have you as a guest.
Nah, I'm just fucking. No, definitely come out. Like I said, show starts at 7:30. Doors open at 7. This show will either be my making or my undoing. So either way, it should be a good time.
If you do well, be sure to plug the Fat Minute podcast. If you bomb, I have never heard of you before in my entire life.
Who knows? I might not be allowed back in the city of Baltimore for a bit. It'll be
Well,
Kaiser all over again.
again, I'm not. I don't even know where to begin there.
Hey, they're the ones who can't take a damn joke. Fuck
Well,
Kaiser.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yes, because I'm the first person who's ever said that before.
Hell, even the mayor of Kaiser probably said it.
Yeah. He's probably sitting in that office right now being like, man, this town fucking smells bad.
Oh, shit.
All right, well, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. Yeah, we'll try to do the 2018 episode next week. I almost said next year. Um, next next week, and yeah, please, we got a few other episodes coming up. Once again, the Avant Guardians of the Galaxy, a few of the films of A24, and some other episodes we have up our sleeve. So just stay tuned for that.
Yep, and be sure to follow us on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Fat Minute Radio. Follow me at Don John Laughs on all that same social media. And you can follow my wonderful co-hosts at all those same social medias at Puka Saucy. My name is Don John, signing off for BVJ. Thank you, fuck you, good night.